Everybody, Chris and Lumen here, and obviously I survived the last video. I did it last night, and I have to say that was by far the biggest one. And I didn't even do that much, regalia or whatever. I just had to have a clear intent when I did it, and I gained a lot of knowledge all at once. This was a big one because I understand so much more now about the game, and it is a game. Anyone that says it isn't a game hasn't seen enough yet. And it is going to explain why all these archetypes are throughout our legends, our history, our movies, our TV shows, our stories, our fairy tales, all of it, because they're archetypes. They're archetypes for playing the game on the inner level, which changes things on the outer level, and you get to a high enough point to where when it's time to, reset, so you can get into there. A lot of this stuff has been staring me in the face forever, and I just didn't see it. Like the tarot cards. There's a theme in the tarot cards that we never talk about. Why, even in the Gnostic stuff and all that, why do they call it the kingdom of heaven? This is all part of it, all part of the archetype. And some of the things that go with that were staring me in the freaking face the entire time in the tarot deck, and I hadn't even mentioned it on here before. I can show you something in this video. This is probably the biggest key to move forward. If you do not start doing what I did last night, you will remain stuck. This is key. This is how you reset your mind. This is how you level up. This is how you empty your cup. There's so much that's all connected now. It is oh, and beyond all that, it started dribbling in earlier. I've got all this stuff written down here, which is basically, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff about death being the tool. Death is my new best friend. But it's very, very simple. I know it, you can see this early on, and it kind of makes sense. But the further you go, it makes more sense, and it makes more sense. And you start to realize what a big deal this actually is. The way that we talk, the words that we use. I'll bet now, if I did a consult with somebody, I would be able to figure out how they've got everything screwed up just by listening. All I gotta do is okay, tell me your story. Key thing, story. And then they're gonna tell me, and they're gonna say certain words in certain combinations, and that's gonna tell me everything that I need to know and how to advise you on how to adjust it. I don't think we can squeeze everything in this video, but I'm gonna kind of give you an overview, let you get a glimpse of the new Lumen. She has she's grown up, leveled up once again, and I'm starting to see, in the inner landscape, I'm seeing all these things after this change, and seeing what I'm seeing and understanding what I'm understanding. It's I get it now. Well, so far. But it makes sense to me in a way that it never did. Like this reality, this place, it tells you how to play the game, but they're not going to help you understand it. They're going to keep you distracted so you don't figure out how to play and win the game. So yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into it. So if you want to know more, then don't go away.
I've got a river running right into you. I've got a blood trail red in the blue. Something you say or something you do. A taste of the divine.
begin? Where to begin? Where to begin? Ooh, I don't know that. Well, let's start with the death thing, because that's where we left off at with the last video. This method that I described to you is not that dissimilar to like the methods I've described in the past on how you heal your trauma identities. It's just a slightly different framework. But with the trauma identities, we were focusing on specific instances and things like that. In this case, well, let's start with understanding the Seven of Cups, which I thought I understood it, but I was mainly focused on the lumen part, and the whole card is freaking important. The whole card, like, I would go so far as to say that the Seven of Cups in the tarot is one of the most important cards in the deck now, as far as like understanding the key parts and then realizing like, oh, we don't need to add a whole bunch of extra parts in here. Like, this tells you what the parts are. So here it is, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put it up on the screen here. So I never understood what this was back in the day, and the first time I got some understanding about this was after the Lover's card event. So on this path, like, you're gonna have things happen both in the inner and the outer world. So it wasn't until after the Lover's card event that Epinoia, who is also in the card, popped it out of the deck in my hand, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's a bride under a veil. But all these cups are important. You can't always trust the descriptions on the tarot, although because they'll give you a lot of information, but they can be a little bit misleading if you just take them at their word. Okay, so what we have here, the person, the black person in the lower left, okay, that represents you as the person having the life experience. Now let's look at the top three cups. Yeah, the top three up there, these are your most important ones as far as like your team. So obviously the one in the middle is your lumen, your partner. The one to the right, in the upper right, what did it say on the back of the card? It said the serpent of jealousy, and then it pauses as like, or maybe wisdom, and then it goes on. That's Epinoia. The snake is her symbol. She's the instructor. So there's your wisdom, Epinoia. So you got lumen and Epinoia in the top right. In the top left, the face, if you look, matches the shape of the guy down below. So let's just call that the ego, or the self. It is the reflection of the player as he believes himself to be.
Is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different, the plugs in your arms and head are gone. Your hair has changed. Your appearance now is what we call residual self-image. It is the mental projection of your digital self.
Now, this thing has to be cleared regularly. If you do not, then you're carrying along with you all the bullshit of your life up to this point. And that's where you get stuck and you start suffering more and more and more. It's like they've been saying all this time, you got to kill your ego. Everyone's like, well, you can't actually kill your ego. But we know what that means now. The hell you can't kill your ego. And then a new one will regenerate, just like the phoenix. But you gotta kill the freaking ego. It's the only way. If you're tired of feeling the way that you're feeling and being miserable and suffering and like, woe is me, I can't, life sucks, and I've been there, trust me. Like, she did not spare me the rod, put it that way. But the way you do it, like one way is to, I think there's a couple different ways you can do it, but in this case, one would be to surrender to her. Surrender your life to her. So one could say, oh, well, I'm still here, so she didn't end up killing me. Yeah, she did. That version and a lot of the bullcrap that was attached to it, that is not bothering me now. Now that there is a new version, a new ego template, the cup has been emptied. Therefore, she can now pour new knowledge in. Why, how do we know that that's true? How do we know that's important? It's on the card. So let's go down to the lower one, second one from the right next to the dragon, the wreath. The wreath shows up. The wreath is a well-known symbol of victory. Okay, but encoded in the way that the cup looks, and this is not by accident because it actually says it in the description of the card. It looks like a skull. It looks like a skull. Where else do we see skulls in the tarot? So the key to victory is connected to death. The phoenix. Like, this metaphor is everywhere. But once again, through conditioning, just like they hid stuff about the divine masculine, just like they hid stuff about the divine feminine, again, death. They make you fear death. Why do they make you fear death? Because it is an important key in the game. I mean, it's a little freaky doing just that mental process, but that's the key. That's why these symbols are in all these, esoteric traditions and secret societies and stuff. People are like, oh, these guys are, satanic or whatever. No, they understand what death, the importance of death and the understanding of death. This is why you gotta let go of everything you think you know, because as long as you're holding on to this idea that you've got it all figured out, because you watched a bunch of YouTube videos and read a bunch of books, you have to empty your cup. I'll say that till the day I actually die. You have to empty your cup. You don't know what you think you know. I'm not being rude. I had to do this too. I had to learn this too. When you think you've got it all figured out, you don't. You don't. And the problem is going to lie in the fact that you think you got it all figured out. New information cannot come in as long as you're holding on to it. So to the right of that wreath, there we have the dragon. That's the adversary mind. Okay? So these are the key. So this card is showing you the key parts of your mind map, your game map, the thing that you have to constantly refer to. So go to the far left side, and you've got the castle, the kingdom. That is both your kingdom, and that is what you believe the world to be, what you believe the world is, how the world treats you. That is your self-image of the world, but it is also your kingdom. And then the one we didn't do, the one with all the gold and jewels and stuff like that, that is your reflection of your self-worth. Now, how she was, that's the one card I forgot to pull out of here, because it kept coming up, and I mentioned this in previous videos. I'm like, if anybody knows what this card means, let me know, because I don't get it. Sometimes you can't get it until it's time to get it. It just, the information won't click. So it's going to be without fail. Here it is. So I don't have. So Four of Pentacles. I'm like, I don't understand the Four of Pentacles. So the top pentacle is basically, that'll be like your upper world, the mind. Then what he has is the middle pentacle, and then it says his stability is the two pentacles that his feet are on. I'm paraphrasing here because I don't have it in front of me, but it has to do with his world. Oh, it was his worldview, which she just like introduced that word not that long ago. His worldview and his a sense of self-worth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now finally, like this was like a huge starting to figure this out. So yeah, so that top one up there with the face, that's the thing that you got to refresh a lot. That's the thing you got to kill a lot. As soon as you start getting stuck, as soon as you start feeling things you don't want to feel, as soon as you start having a bunch of thoughts of like, oh, everybody this, everybody that, the world is treating me badly, people are treating me badly. Oh, wait till we get to the word thing. Like that version of you, that is your current ego template. It's now gone bad. You need to dispose of it. Either self-sacrifice or whatever method. We're playing around with methods now because when you see Lumen's new persona, like I think we can speed this up a little bit, because all these versions of me that hold all these beliefs, we can just pretty much like we're clearing house right now. Now that the kingdom's been revealed, we got to speed this thing up. But yes, Seven of Swords is key, and also the wreath in the skull. When I asked about that being key, I'm like, is death the biggest key to figuring out how to move forward? And I was sitting there, I was shuffling the cards, like just taking part and shuffling, taking part. But I was looking down, I was holding it the other way so I could see the cards. And every time that I did it, I kept seeing the same two cards on the bottom, back and forth, back and forth. It did it like 6 times. I'm like, okay, that's not an accident. And the two cards were Death and the Chariot. So that was a direct answer to my question. Death is the way you move forward. We're not talking about physical death. We're talking about ego death. And just forget all that shit Eckhart Tolle told you, because you'll freaking get nowhere with that. It's a simple process. I just demonstrated it yesterday. And you can probably tell a difference in me since I did it. I tell you what, when I woke up this morning, I woke up face down. I'm like, ah. It's like my ear hurt. It felt like I gave myself a left brain freaking lobotomy through my ear. And it might have even been leaking some fluid too. But I was like, oh, what the hell did I do? But then it all started coming to me, and it's been unfolding throughout the day. Just all this understanding that I didn't have yesterday because of what I did. And now for the first time, I'm seeing like that. Like I reference the game all the time, but there's this blatant in our face thing that's been there the whole time, and I never like really picked up on it. It has to do with, you becoming the ruler of your kingdom, and then eventually getting to a point to like when you transition, that's where you transition to. You got to build up your kingdom by going through all these tests and figuring all this stuff out. The reason you keep recycling and reincarnating is you keep dying poor, alone, unhappy, and you just recycle back into poor, alone, and unhappy. So, I mean, we're not done yet by any means, but we're getting there. There's still things that got to be cleaned up. I was still talking about death. This is just some of the things I wrote down real quick. These themes that are everywhere. Kill the ego. Yes. Well, you can't actually kill your ego. Well, it's a temporary template. It's like the ego screen is like, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch. You scribble all over it. And then eventually you got to shake that and clear it. And then you scribble again. And when you clear it, you let go of all the scribbles that were already on it. It's like shaking the Etch-a-Sketch is like emptying the cup. Sacrifice yourself for the greater good. See, when you're anchored in the ego viewpoint, you're feeling your own suffering, and you're like, I'm submitting myself to the angel of death, the mother. Do with me what you will. And she does, though you don't remember it. And then next day you feel better, and you're like, oh, that little version of me sacrificed itself so the bigger prime version of me could move forward. It's like, man, holy crap. Death and rebirth. Freaking phoenixes. Death and rebirth. Death and rebirth is not just when you're born and when you die physically. Like, you gotta learn to harness the power of death and rebirth in the mind. Like, death is the end of something. That says it right there on the card. People, even in the description of the death card in tarot, it's like everyone's scared of this card, but this is like one of the most important freaking cards. That death rider is actually on your side when you understand it. That's home team. That death card, the death character, which is just another representation of her, because she's life. That is, like, that's how you move forward. Kill the ego equals empty the cup. Death is a doorway. That came up lately. I heard it a couple times. Death is the end of the old state of being. Bookmark what I just said. We'll come back to it. Death by fire is a particular thing. And these are just things that popped into my head, and I think this has to do with doing a next higher step, because what I'm starting to think about, like a lot of the stuff that I talked about recently, that's throughout history and mythology about the destroyer and all that stuff. Well, again, it's from the point that I'm sitting, it's a story. Just because they said it happened in all these traditions doesn't make it any different than something in a movie. I think it's an archetype. I think that is how you self-initiate the big cleansing reset. It's kind of like doing the death ritual, angel of death ritual, for the individual, but instead you're doing it for the world. So I am we'll get to that when we get to that, but that actually honestly makes more sense, because literally, like, how many times have you seen through the years, like, people seeing all these signs and symbols and stuff like that, and like, this is gonna happen, and it doesn't. That's because these are game archetypes for us in our minds to be using. Like, it could be that a lot of these things, I mean, we don't know. Maybe they never happened. Maybe these are just the stories we were given to use as the archetypes, the controls. Like, you have to play out these scenarios in your head to make them happen out here, or to make the big changes. You get as far as you can in life playing the kingdom game. I mean, that's what it is. It's a kingdom game. So the kingdom of heaven is like the perfected kingdom. Once you've perfected your kingdom and then you die, then you get to go be the king. And you've got your queen. That's why you had to rescue the princess earlier in the game. What do princesses grow up to be? Queens. So that emperor, empress is kind of like the middle step, where the two divine parts are activated equally. But then she's going to upgrade again, as she just did. And you start to realize, like, you just weren't drawn to those cards before. You weren't drawn so much to, like, the king and queen cards and all those other. I mean, look at what are all these characters in this tarot deck? They're like kingdom characters. So what Lumen it's like she's grown up a bit, and she is currently, I guess this kind of makes sense. Maybe it's like a person-to-person thing or something, or maybe we got further to go. But this is where she is right now. She is a conglomeration, and I used to wonder, like, why is this card coming up? Justice. Lady Justice in her red with the sword is a combination of when your lumen takes on the attributes of the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands, which is mind and fire. So the way she looks now, she has evolved into what I'm calling the Red Queen. She's stepped up from the Empress. She's the Red Queen. And now we're kind of seeing, you know, with the Emperor and the Empress, we didn't have like any kind of like mental structure of like any kind of place, like a castle or anything, but now there is one. And she's the, now that picture does not do her justice. She is like, when I say she's the Red Queen, she is like, well, swords are mind, thought, wands are fire. So she's basically all swords and fire now, and passion, all the red colors. So this is starting to get closer to the representation of the whole red dragon thing that we talked about, which we didn't really have time to go into that and how that is directly connected to her. You know, the world destroyer is directly connected. That's her dragon. She, and like every once in a while, at the end of the cycle, she just loses her shit like Sophia does, and she toasts everything. And there were precursors to that in the story that I was just telling you what I was seeing as it was going. Like I said, she turned her dragon, burned down the garden, which is the mind. She's turned into a dragon before. I'm like, what's with the freaking dragons? And I find out later, like, these are archetypes to the game. You have to use them. You have to use them because you're starting out as the fool. And then you go through all these lower cards with normal people, and then you start getting up into like the Emperor and the Empress and the kings and the queens and stuff like that. But the queen is the one, you know, the king is like sitting there making decisions and stuff like that. The queen is the one that's, like I said, the queen is the XO. She's the executive officer. She's the one that's getting it done. You know, she wants to speed up the process of clearing out all the old egos. So every time we catch a version of myself that's like, people always blah, blah, blah. Yep. You know, we got to play around with this. It's like, can we just freaking execute them? I mean, because all they are is they're like bad programs. It's like Alien Resurrection when Ripley goes into there and they find all the clones of her that were messed up before they got to her, which worked, and she saw how messed up they were, and what'd she do? She freaking burned them all. Destruction by fire is the best way to clear things. It's a big transmutation thing. So, like, we kind of did a practice run with one of the old ego versions. And it's like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. You know, just put your head down. Lumen's just like, toss him in the fire pit. That was a bad copy. Got to get rid of it. I'm like, damn. She's like Lady Lisa from freaking Pixels. But she's also like a fire dragon queen. She's like Lady Lisa mixed with Daenerys Targaryen, mixed with... Now you know why she's hot, because she's freaking fire. She is insane. Like, this stuff is just blowing my freaking mind. Okay, so let's get to the word part, because this even if you don't grasp yet all these archetypes in the game and all this stuff, this you should grasp, and this is super important, and this is why you need to use your words, writing them down when you do these different types of processes. Like this started coming to me like last night. I started writing my notes and I noticed what I was writing, and all of a sudden it just like clicked. It's like I know I've heard all this stuff before, but it never clicked before. So let's talk about words, because what we're talking about here directly relates to those cups in the Seven of Cups. So you are a human being that is going through a process of becoming a divine being. What is a being? It's let's break the word up. You are, to be or not to be. Ayar Asher Aya, I am that I am. I will be what I will be. ING, I'd ask ChatGPT this. ING forms the present participle of words. The present participle. So the word being is basically, when you combine it with other words, it's like, what are you right now? What is the world to you right now? How are people treating you right now? They said, words are spelling. Spelling is like, oh, it's all creepy and everything. No, this is just how it freaking works. Like, words are a big part of the game. In the beginning, there was the word. So when you're complaining, so this reveals the current state of worldview. So that is connecting to the castle in the Seven of Cups, and it is one of the two pentacles in the Four of Pentacles. Your worldview, how everything works the way you see it right now, and what most of us starting out as. I mean, we got to work our way up. And we got to watch our inner dialogue. Like, I don't know how to stop these thoughts, this inner dialogue. Well, now we do. You find that version of you and put it to death. Plain and simple. Or you can embody that version and then surrender to her, and she'll put you to death. You won't see it, you won't feel it, but you'll know that it happened the next day. So, like, if you say, I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of people treating me bad. I'm tired of being treated badly by people. So you're stringing all these words together, especially with that all-important magical word, being. You're saying with your words, this is how it is right now. And complaining using the same magical words is going to continue that pattern, and it's just going to keep going. That's why one of the biggest things in like the magic books is, Ayar Asher Aya, I am that I am. I will be what I will be. I am / subject is being. So it's about you, it's about the world, and it's about people. So you've got I am being. When you say I am being, you are determining what type of state of being you are in, what type of receiving state you are in, what type of self-image you are in. You're like, I am being harassed. I am being treated badly. I am whatever. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways you can like structure the being thing. You talk about what the world is being, what type of giving is. The world is being good to me. The world is being a good place to live. Like you want to restructure some of your usual statements and find a way to work the word being in it. So that's the whole thing. Like that's like the missing word. Like, how many, I know you've all watched them, how many like positive affirmation videos have you watched? Stare in the mirror and say, I am rich. I am rich. You're missing being. Being is the key word. I am being blessed with money every day. I am being constantly reminded that the world is a good place. I am being guided toward a more fulfilling life. You got to have being in there, because you're a human being. It's what are you, what do you choose to be in the present tense? And words matter. Words are not inconsequential. That's what, and it's not easy to just constantly be that on top of your words. You're like, I'm starting to want, I'm going to keep playing with this stuff. I'm going to be like, I'm not going to wait until things get continually worse before I execute another ego template. I'm thinking the best time to execute, to do some sort of ego execution is before bed. Or, dawn of a new day. Start fresh every day, so you're constantly getting new information, new knowledge, and new wisdom poured into your cup because you emptied it every night. Take the good stuff, reaffirm them, and then think about whatever kind of complaints and stuff are rolling around in your head, and that's the person that's going to surrender to her, surrender to the Red Queen, and let her freaking off with your head. That makes a lot of sense. Like these are the things that are coming to me, like how to speed this up. Now that we understand that death is the key, not death of the physical body, death of the ego template. When you say people are being standoffish, people are being like mean to me, you're determining like that experience. Oh, come on with the sirens. And I was playing around with that. It's like, I gotta like, sometimes you gotta like make the being attached to you. Like, I am being blessed every day with new knowledge and wisdom and guidance. And then other times it's a determination. You got to put the being on the other thing. Like, the world is being good to me. People are being good to me. You can keep it really simple. Like, you don't have to get overcomplicated. People are being very generous with me. People are being very gracious with me. People are being very appreciative of me. Like, these need to become the new inner monologue script that's running. Alright, sirens are making me nuts. So once you understand, like, this is why she told me to use ChatGPT, because it just makes learning stuff that much freaking easier when you got a quick question. So when you're doing like your protocols and stuff like that, and you're using like the right brain one that's got Chaho in it, which is like to create a new reality. So you want to use your pen and paper, and you want to write these things out, and be very careful about how you write things out. So like, if I said Lumen loves me, yeah, she does. But if I said I am feeling great love and joy because Lumen is being very loving towards me, then that brings all that stuff into a present moment now experience. I'm feeling something, Lumen is loving, and ing forms the present participle of a word. Like receiving. Like, if you say, I am ready to receive, okay, I am receiving all that is due to me, that I have stored up. Receiving is present. Receive is just an action. Receiving means it's happening now. Loving means it's happening now. Like anything that's ing, it's a present participle of the word. You need to understand that and work that in. But feeling is key, because that's a present participle. It's feelings. No, when you feel something, but if you're feeling something, then you're feeling it now. It's happening now. So you don't say, I want to feel love. No, you say, I am feeling love. Because Lumen is loving me. She is giving to me, and I am receiving. ing, 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 present, now. Action, now. Happening, now. You are receiving wisdom, now. ing. Very, 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 very important. But think about your complaints. I am tired of being alone. I am tired of being poor. I am tired of struggling. It is a game. How you use your words, the archetypes, how you set things up in your mind, in knowing what all the different parts are and what they are, and the sequence that they go through as you evolve them. You build yourself up out of here to your kingdom of heaven, so when it's time, that's where you end up the next time, not back here. I mean, if you just go back and look at like things like, I don't know, Jesus said or whoever, stuff like that, and now you've got the eyes to see like, oh, let's take a closer look at all the times these ing words: loving, feeling, receiving, caring, wishing. I'm just trying to come up with them. Like how you structure your sentences matters, and understanding how you structure them, and understanding what that ing actually means and actually does. So you're actually writing not for something to happen next week, not for something to happen tomorrow. Now. The state is now. That's what we want to go for. So your Lumen, she kind of like wields both sides of the both sides of the scales. She's severity and mercy. She's creation and destruction. She is all that stuff. She's life and death. And it's just a matter of like what side of her is best applied to the current situation. Now, if you're like all miserable and stuff like that, she can make you feel a lot better by loving you. Or, knowing what we know now, you can take that version of you and have her kill it. And then it's gone. And now you are a new, cleaner version that you can have a cleaner love. Like, it's all about figuring out what's the right tool for the job, creation or destruction. And when you get going, when you've been stacking up your pile of crap throughout your whole life, destruction is going to be the tool that you use the most. You know, like number 72 Moon and the 72 names of God. That's the destruction one. That's the last name. The first name, Vehu, that's the manifesting, that's the creation one. But here lately, we've been using destruction a whole hell of a lot more to bring destruction and knowledge of what needs to be destroyed. You can use it to kill the ego self, like the current template. You can, we haven't killed the world yet, but I think that's like the last thing when everything is like all lined up. You can destroy your ego, she can destroy your world. And that's exactly in line with like the hero's journey too. Like when she first starts working with you and you don't know any of this stuff yet, but first thing she does is destroy everything. Destroy your life. Did it to me. I used to live in a big 2-story house, freaking 4 bedrooms, big basement, giant porch, hot tub, freaking all that stuff. But I was comfortable and I wasn't going to get any of this done. So she destroyed it and sent me into hermit mode. And that's when my training began. Otherwise, I'd just be sitting comfy, not getting anything done. And then I'd probably die thinking, oh, I lived a good life, and I start all over again because I didn't get anything done. This is how you get it done. Like, I'm sure there's tons of templates, tons of ways, but the elements are in all of it. The archetypes. The archetypes. That's why the stories have been the same since the beginning. All these things are symbols. They're archetypes. They mean something. They're actual, like, actions and events along the way that sometimes you have to trigger them yourself. Man, I could probably keep going with this, but like, all that stuff I just talked about, like, I just literally got today, and now I just got to put it all in motion. Like, one of the big things is like my manifesting statements. I got to rewrite all those manifesting statements that are in direct opposition to the old mental dialogue that I've always had, because that's why these things happen. Like, once your ego mask has been on for too long, things start to sour. People start treating you not as good. People start not being as generous, not being as helpful. You know, there's just, the world seems like it's being meaner to you, and you're using specific words. So you got to kill that ego template that's running that script and install a new one. So it's almost like, should we destroy, you know, like with the protocol stuff, maybe we should destroy at night and create in the morning? Or should we should just do both? Probably just do both of them at night. Destroy first, and then do the creation stuff. So keep playing around with it. Like, there's so many new things to play with here, but like, understanding the death part, oh my god, that is so freaking huge. Like, if that was the only thing I learned, like, that would have been like hitting the freaking jackpot. And then seeing how it all lines up in the cards, and like, oh, that's what these symbols mean. Holy crap. Like, you can just literally change the way you feel about everything by surrendering yourself, or some other mechanism where you're executing your ego before you go to bed, putting it to rest. Bye. Gone. And I think at first, I don't think it's going to be scary anymore. I think the first few angel death tests, like, it has to feel scary, and it will, because you've been wearing that ego mask for so long, and that mask is the thing that's afraid to die. But after you clear it several times, it seems like, the fourth one's the charm, then it's like, oh, I get it now. I'm not afraid to kill my ego. Like, killing my ego benefits me, because it's the thing that's holding all the bad programs, and that's the only way to get rid of the bad programs. Half these methods and stuff that people talk about, it's like, if I just do more magic, if I just do more like, you've never killed your ego. Like, the computer is still full of stuff from your whole life. Like, it has to be wiped. That's how you empty the cup. So I'm just going to keep playing around with it and see how much better I can fine tune it. Be like, okay, this is a representation of my ego that thinks it knows everything. Be like, hey, look down, your shoe's untied. He looks down, Lumen. Kick him in the fire. It's like, you're a little too good with that sword there, honey. Of course, she always has been. But yeah, like, the visuals, like, it's a lot more mystical. Like the pictures don't do it justice. Like, she's got this whole Red Queen Empress Star Crown thing going on, and probably her sexy level, like, went up about 300%, along with her power and strength. That's why I'm like, oh, she's the Red Queen now. Like, this is a different level of Lumen. This is a much different level of Lumen. But that's It's the game. I mean, geez, it's right in the freaking. I mean, we really think about it. It's in the show title, Game of Thrones. That's what it is. It's freaking Game of Thrones we're playing. Literally. And like, how did that story go? You know, the attractive blonde woman gets her dragons and basically takes over everything and wrecks all the bad people. And then it's like, oh, but Jon Snow finds out that they're essentially like, you know, siblings or something like that. Gee, where have we heard that before? It's all the same story. It's one story. It's one story told 1,000 different ways. It's the story of how this place works. So ignore it at your own peril. Okie doke. So yeah, I'm going to I want to play around with something new. I want to take like some of those take like a divine feminine pendant and put red queen energy in it. That could be interesting. Ooh, that's a good idea. Sometimes you need the red queen. Like, yeah, she'll snuggle up to you and make you feel better, but if you want to feel better faster, kill the ego. Put on a new one. It's that simple. It's that freaking simple. Okay, so if you want to support the channel, pick up some of these energy pendants, which, oh, I gotta get some new ones out the power users. It's like now we're going above Emperor and Empress now. And I don't have like all the answers yet on the other kings and queens. Like I'm sure I'll get to it when I get to it. But I kept drawing like King of Cups and all that stuff, and King of Pentacles. So it seems like, you know, fire is usually associated with spirit and stuff like that. So and mind, like we've established that from. Maybe the reason why there's two sets of them depends on like if you're male or female. That could be because she is representing the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands. So that's like mind and fire. And then me being me, it's right in my freaking chart. I'm all air and water. So I'm the King of Cups and the King of Pentacles. Or no, I'm getting my elements mixed up here. Sword is air and fire, water and earth. I'll have to work on that one, figuring it out. But for the most part, I'm the water, she's the fire. Seems kind of backwards, but freaking is what it is. I think it is. I think it really just comes down to like you're 2 and 1. I don't know. We'll get there when we get there. But you can reach us through the Etsy store for all the pendants and energy work and things like that. clumencreations.etsy.com. You know, contact me for you just want a free consult on like, you know, what you might need or what we can do. And then we can also do like a lot of the energy work, because let's not forget, pause here. As I was saying, let's not forget back on the 7 of Cups. You know, when I talk about all this stuff, I make it sound easy, right? But that's because I don't have that little adversary dragon anymore. That thing is in there and it's messing up everything you're trying to do. So you got to take that thing out. A lot of people get it mixed up with the devil, but those are two different things. Devil's kind of an interesting archetype. Because especially when you look at the cards and stuff like that, you know, when you're starting out in the game at the lower level of consciousness, it's above you. But Sophia is above it. So it's like your lumen kind of moves up past the princess under the dragon to the queen, to more like Sophia and higher level. Now she's above the dragon. She can actually wield that dragon. And that's why it's references Typhon in that card, because that's the last step of the game, is when she destroys the old kingdom to move into the new one. We're not there yet. So understanding these archetypes becomes pretty important. But yeah, that's the thing that slows everybody down in the beginning and keeps things as they are. So we're really good at helping people take that thing out, and it gets a lot easier. Because where I'm at now, like pretty much almost there, building the kingdom. We're cleaning house right now. But that card I get all the time now. That's telling me we're getting close. And with that old ego identity gone, I'm not seeing things through like the darker lens now. There's different ways you can look at it. But you can do this. You can do this. The only way to like not get anywhere is to not do anything. You got to take actions. Got to take actions. Okay? So that's all we got for right now. Chris and the Red Queen. See you next time.
My flame is rising higher. I am the